Chosen one, hear this now. Roughly 2 hours ago, something about your life was finished, and it has been held ever since, waiting for you to be still enough to receive it. That strange alertness you have carried since this afternoon, that pressure behind your eyes that has nothing to do with sleep, and that sense of something standing just outside the edge of your understanding, do not explain it away. Your spirit registered an arrival before your mind was given permission to name it. Maybe the last 72 hours have felt suspended, like life was buffering. Perhaps a conversation you were dreading simply did not happen. Maybe a door you were bracing against stayed quiet all week. Or maybe you were awake at 3 a.m. asking the same question you have been asking for 2 years, and the ceiling gave you nothing back. So let me say the thing that reorders everything. You were never the one waiting, heaven was. And the pause you have been calling silence was the time it took to make the answer safe to hand you. 2 hours ago, chosen one, that word was complete. It was not delayed because you were unworthy. It was held because 2 hours ago you would have taken it straight to the people who have never believed you, and you would have spent it proving instead of building. What was being handled in that window was not your answer. Your answer was already finished. What was being moved were the things standing next to it. You are not behind because God went quiet. You are being protected by a patience that has your name written all over it. Within the next 24 hours, the ache attached to one unanswered prayer can begin to loosen, and the meaning of the last long stretch of silence can begin to come into focus. Not because the circumstance moved, because the story underneath it did. You chose to keep praying into a room that gave you no echo. You chose to stay tender when disappointment offered you an easier personality. You chose to keep the door open for someone who has still not walked through it. Think back to that moment this week when you gave up asking, when you said out loud or almost out loud that you were done waiting on an answer. You thought that was your faith running out. It was not. That was the exact hour your hands finally opened. Nothing can be handed to a fist, chosen one. That surrender was not the end of your believing. It was the opening of the delivery window. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm may have placed it in front of you, but something older than any system built by human hands scheduled this exact hour. Stay with me to the very last second, because in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the real reason certain answers are held instead of denied. Walk you through the one test that tells you whether a word is safe to be given to you yet, and give you a way to read the whole silent season behind you without a single drop of shame in it. Do not scroll away. If you leave now, the word gets held again, not because heaven withdrew it, but because the room went loud before you heard the end of the sentence. Before we take one more step, I need to name the voice that has been speaking to you all week. It has been speaking, and it has become very skilled at sounding exactly like your own thinking. It told you that you were forgotten. It told you that other people received their answer because something in them qualified, and that you received silence because something in you did not. That voice never gives you a whole sentence. It gives you the first half and lets your fear finish it. Heaven has not been ignoring you, chosen one. Heaven has been holding something. And holding is the most expensive form of love there is, because the one doing the holding has to carry the weight of your misunderstanding the entire time. I will tell you something I do not enjoy telling. There was a stretch of 11 months when I stopped praying out loud, not because I stopped believing, because I could not stand the sound of my own voice asking for the same thing one more time. I would sit in a parked car with the engine off and say nothing at all, and then I would walk back inside and behave like a man with faith. What I learned afterward undid me. The thing I had been asking for had been ready for most of those 11 months. It was not withheld from me, it was held for me. And the distance between those two words is the distance between being abandoned and being protected. I was not yet able to receive that thing without turning it into a weapon and aiming it at the people who doubted me. Heaven waited until I was. There is a sentence in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 that has been quoted at hurting people for centuries, usually badly. It says the vision is for an appointed time, and though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come, and it will not lie. Now hear that sentence in the language of this afternoon. The word tarry does not mean broken, it means scheduled. Something can be entirely complete and still be waiting on a calendar. Your answer is not missing, anointed one. Your answer is dated. Chosen one, that is the frame for everything I am about to place into your hands tonight. Not a promise that your circumstance quietly moved while you were not looking. A revelation about who has actually been doing the waiting in this story. So let us begin where the confusion begins. There are two kinds of waiting, and almost nobody separates them, which is why almost everyone suffers unnecessarily inside a season that was designed to protect them. The first kind is the waiting you have been doing. It is anxious, it checks, it refreshes, it counts months, it waits badly, it rehearses arguments with people who are not in the room. It measures the value of your life against a timeline you did not write and cannot see. The second kind is the waiting that has been happening over you, chosen one. It is deliberate. It is not anxious, because it already knows the outcome. It is not counting months, because it is counting conditions. And here is the inversion that reorders the entire season you have just walked through. The anxious waiting was yours. The deliberate waiting was never a verdict on your worth. It was a response to the shape of your hands. Read that again slowly, anointed one. Nothing has been decided about your value in the last 2 years. Something has been observed about your grip. And a grip can change in an afternoon, which is exactly why 2 hours matters more than 2 years. I want to set something down in front of you now and leave it sitting there for a while, because we are going to come back to it. Over the last few decades, something was proven in a research setting that most people who care deeply about the things we are discussing tonight have never been told about. Not because it contradicts anything sacred, because it came from a direction most of us are not watching. A small group of researchers found something about the way the human mind is built that explains a condition many spiritually sensitive people live inside and have never once been able to name. The description and the pinned comment both carry it, but hold one question first. What if the fog you have been blaming on your age and your discipline was never your failure at all? Stay with me, chosen one, because the next layer is the one that changes how you read every unanswered prayer behind you. Think about Joseph for a moment. 13 years between a dream and a throne, and most of those years spent underground in a place that smelled like forgotten men. The text does not say the dream was cancelled while he sat there. It says the dream was kept. Everything that happened in that prison happened to the man, not to the promise. That is the pattern I need you to carry into everything I say next, anointed one. The promise does not decay in the dark. The person is what gets built in the dark. And when people cannot tell the difference between those two things, they read a delay as a rejection, and they walk away from a season that was actually doing its finest work on them. Let me describe your week back to you before I explain any of it. Chosen one, you wake before the alarm, not rested, just alert, and the first thing your hand does is reach for the phone before your eyes have fully opened. You check one thread. Nothing moved. You check the email folder you have already checked. Nothing moved. At some point in the afternoon, chosen one, you catch yourself sitting at a red light with your jaw locked and your shoulders pulled up toward your ears, holding a conversation with someone who is not in the car. You are explaining yourself to them. You are winning. And then the light changes and you feel faintly embarrassed about it. And there is a version of an announcement you have rehearsed, anointed one, across months of waiting. You know the exact words you would send if the thing finally happened. You know who you would send it to first. You have that message written in your body even though you have never typed it. And there is a specific tiredness that sleep does not fix, chosen one. The kind that sits behind your sternum and makes you cancel plans with people you actually love. Because holding a normal conversation while carrying an unanswered question is more work than anybody watching you understands. Most people explain all of that as impatience, chosen one. They call it a lack of faith. Everyone tells you to be more grateful, and you try, and the trying adds one more layer of failure onto a pile you did not build. That explanation is wrong, chosen one. Every one of those symptoms is not the behavior of someone with weak faith. It is the behavior of someone who has been knocking on a door for so long that the knocking became a personality. And you were knocking on a room you assumed was empty. The room was not empty, chosen one. That is the first thing I am here to tell you. Someone has been standing on the other side of that door the entire time, and the reason it did not open is not that nobody was home. The reason it did not open is that a handoff was still being prepared, and a handoff is not the same thing as an answer. This is the piece almost nobody teaches, and it is the piece that dissolves years of shame in about 90 seconds if you let it land. Every real answer has two halves, chosen one. There is the thing itself, and there is the moment of transfer. The thing can be finished while the transfer is still being arranged. A gift can be wrapped, addressed, paid for, and sitting by the door, and still not be in your hands. And none of that has anything to do with whether the giver loves you. There is a name for what has been happening in the space between those two halves. The safe handoff. It is the moment when a word can pass from heaven into a human life without being damaged in transit and without damaging the person receiving it. And here is what almost nobody says out loud, chosen one. Most words are not lost. Most words are dropped. They are dropped in the handoff by hands that were reaching for the wrong reason at the exact moment the thing arrived. Heaven waits because a word given to a defended heart becomes a weapon. Heaven waits because a word given to an exhausted mind becomes another obligation. Heaven waits because a word given to someone still performing for an audience becomes a performance. Heaven waits because a word given too early gets spent proving something instead of building something. Heaven waits because the answer is not the goal. The life you build with the answer is the goal. Heaven waits because the one holding it has already seen what happens on the other side and would rather carry your confusion for a season than watch you carry a broken thing for a decade. Sit with that for one breath, chosen one. Not one of those sentences is about your worth. Every single one of them is about timing and about condition. Nobody in that room was ever debating whether you deserved it. So, let me say the consequence plainly, because you have carried the opposite belief for a long time, and it has cost you sleep. The silence was not a verdict. The silence was a workspace. Something was being made ready, and you were standing outside a room that had light under the door the whole time. That was not neglect, that was custody. And custody is a strange kind of love, chosen one, because it never once looks like love from the outside. It looks like distance. It looks like being skipped. The person in custody of something valuable does not get to explain themselves while they are holding it, because explaining would require handing it over, and handing it over is the one thing that is not safe yet. I watched this in my own house. Years ago, a man I loved asked me to hold something for his son until the boy turned 25. I held it for 6 years. The boy hated me for 4 of them, because from where he stood, I was the one keeping him from what belonged to him. I could not explain. Explaining would have meant opening the box. When the day finally came and I put it in his hands, he understood, in about 10 seconds, what 6 years of arguing could not have taught him. He told me later that if he had received it at 19, he would have burned straight through it, and himself with it. Chosen one, I have thought about that conversation every single time I have wanted to accuse heaven of being slow. Now here is your first instruction, and it is small enough to do tonight. Stop measuring this season by arrival. You have been checking the door. Start measuring it by the shape of your hands instead. Ask yourself one question, chosen one, and answer it honestly. If the thing you have been asking for landed in your life at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, who is the first person you would tell? If that name came to you instantly, and if the feeling attached to that name was even slightly the feeling of finally, then you have just learned something useful about why the door has stayed closed. Type, I understand now. Say it into the comments and leave it there, chosen one, because writing a thing down changes where it lives in you. And stay close, because the deeper mechanism underneath all of this has a name, and once you hear the name, you will not be able to unsee it in your own history. And maybe right now, you are thinking that you have heard some version of this before, that someone already told you God has a plan and the timing is perfect, and it did not touch the ache at 3 in the morning. That is a fair thought, chosen one, and I am not going to argue with it. But notice what you were given back then. You were given a reassurance. You were not given a mechanism. Reassurance asks you to feel better about a thing you still do not understand. A mechanism lets you read your own life. What I am handing you tonight is the second one, and you can test it against your own history in the next few minutes. Think about Hannah for a moment, standing in the temple with her mouth moving and no sound coming out, being accused of being drunk by a priest who could not read what he was looking at. That is what deep waiting looks like from the outside. It looks unstable. It looks like a person who has waited too long and gone strange with it. She had been waiting for years, and she was not unstable. She was in the last stage of a handoff, and the last stage is always the loudest inside and the quietest outside. Chosen one, if the people around you have been misreading you lately, understand that this is a very old misunderstanding, and it is not evidence that you are wrong. And here is a small turn of language that has helped more people than almost anything else I teach. You were not put on hold. You were held. One of those means forgotten. The other means carried. Same sound, opposite universe. But here is where it goes deeper, and I need you present for this part, because everything so far has been the surface. Let me name something that happened to you, and I want you to notice what your body does when I say it. There was a time when something you had been asking for actually came, not the big one, a smaller one. A door opened, a call came back, a bit of money arrived that you had not planned on, and within about 2 days, it was gone, or it curdled, or it turned into an argument with somebody you love. By the 14th of that month, you could not point to one single thing it had built. You have quietly carried that as proof that you are bad with good things, chosen one. That when blessing shows up, you mishandle it. That there is something in your wiring that spoils what it touches. Chosen one, I need you to put that belief down right now, because it is not only untrue, it is a misreading of the actual mechanics. You did not mishandle it, chosen one. You received it while you were still waiting in the wrong state. And receiving in the wrong state is not a character flaw. It is a condition, and conditions change. Here is the mechanism, and this is the center of everything I have to give you tonight. The holding room. The holding room is the space where a finished word waits, not for the calendar and not for your performance, but for the receiver to reach a state where the word can be used for its actual purpose. It is not a punishment room. It is not a waiting list. It is a preservation room, chosen one, and everything waiting inside it is already yours. Because here is the thing that took me years to see, anointed one. An answer that arrives while you are still defending yourself does not get built with, it gets spent. It gets carried straight to the people who doubted you and laid on the table like evidence. And the moment a gift becomes evidence, it stops being a gift. It becomes an argument, and arguments consume everything you feed them. You have watched this happen. You have watched someone get the thing they prayed for and then spend 18 months telling everyone in reach about it instead of doing anything with it. That is not arrogance. That is an unhealed person receiving a healed thing. The word arrived before the wound closed, and the wound got hold of it first. Heaven waits because a wound will always outrun a will. Heaven waits because the part of you that is still trying to be believed moves faster than the part of you that is trying to build. Heaven waits because it would rather delay your comfort than fund your defensiveness. So how do you know where you actually stand, chosen one? You do not have to guess, and you do not have to wait for someone else to tell you. There is a test, and it takes about 11 seconds. The open hand test. Here is how it works, chosen one. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the answer you have been asking for as already given. It is done. It is in your hands right now. Now notice the very first reflex that fires in you. If the first reflex is to send it to a specific person to prove something, the word is not safe to hand you yet. If the first reflex is to picture the face of someone who doubted you, the word is not safe to hand you yet. If the first reflex is relief that spreads through your chest, and then curiosity about what you could make with it, then your hands are open, anointed one, and open hands are the only receiving equipment heaven has ever used. And if you just found yourself failing that test, anointed one, do not do the thing you always do. Do not turn it into another item on the list of ways you are not ready. The reflex you just noticed is not a defect, it is a scar with a job. Somewhere behind you there was a season where being believed was the difference between surviving and not, and your system learned to reach for proof the way a hand reaches for a rail. You are not being disqualified. You are being shown the last piece of gear that still needs adjusting before the weight comes off the hook. That is not a judgment, that is a dashboard. And a dashboard is the most merciful thing you can be given in a season like this, because it turns an invisible mystery into something you can actually read. Type, "I receive the word," write it, and then keep listening, because what comes next is the part that reorganizes your entire memory of the last 2 years, and I do not want you to hear it in fragments. There is a passage in Daniel chapter 10 verse 12 that I want in your hands before we go any further, because it is the closest thing Scripture gives us to a receipt. An angel arrives and tells Daniel that from the very first day he set his heart to understand, his words were heard, and that the messenger was dispatched because of those words. 21 days of nothing. 21 days of a man fasting and waiting into what felt like an empty sky. The message was not late, chosen one. The message was in transit, and something in the corridor was being cleared. Notice what the text does not say. It does not say Daniel prayed harder on day 21. It does not say he finally qualified. His words were heard on day 1. Everything that happened afterward happened in the space between the sending and the arrival. That is the space we have been describing. That is the room. And now, I have to tell you what is actually going on inside it, because up to this point, I have let you believe something that is only half true. And just when you think you have found the root, there is one more layer. I want you to walk back through the last 2 years with me, slowly. Not the story you tell about them, chosen one. The inventory. A friendship went thin, chosen one. Not dramatically. Nobody fought. The text just got further apart until the two of you became people who used to talk. There was a role or a room or a table you were part of, and you are not part of it anymore. And some nights you still replay how that ended. There was a habit you kept for years, anointed one, that quietly stopped working. The thing you used to do to take the edge off does not take the edge off now. There was a door you knocked on for months, a person, a position, a possibility, and it stayed shut so completely that eventually you stopped hearing your own knuckles. And there is a name you still say in your head at strange hours. Someone who was supposed to come back and has not. You are still waiting on that one. You have written and deleted that message more times than you would admit to anyone. You have read that entire inventory as loss, as being stripped, as a season where things were taken from you one at a time while you were already down. Some part of you concluded that you were being punished for something you cannot even identify, and that conclusion has been sitting in your chest like a stone ever since. Chosen one, here is the part you probably did not expect. The thing being worked on in that long window was never your answer. Your answer was finished. It has been finished longer than you would believe if I told you. What was being moved, one at a time, carefully, in an order you could not see, were the things standing next to it. Read that again, anointed one. Not you, not your worthiness, not the word itself, the things standing next to it. Everything you interpreted as heaven working on whether to give it to you was actually heaven working on where to put it. Because a word does not arrive into an abstraction, chosen one. It arrives into a life, and a life is a room, and a room has furniture. When something large is being brought in, the people carrying it do not walk it around the sofa. They take the sofa out first. And from inside the room, with the lights off, the removal of the sofa feels exactly like theft. That friendship did not thin because you became unlovable. It thinned because it was standing in the path. That habit did not stop working because you got weak. It stopped working because it was the thing that would have absorbed the answer the moment it arrived. That door did not stay shut because you were not worth opening it for. It stayed shut because the room behind it was the wrong room and you were about to sign a lease on it. Heaven waits because the space has to be cleared before the thing can be set down. Heaven waits because a promise set down in a crowded life gets broken by the crowd. Heaven waits because some of the people standing closest to your answer would have taught you to be small about it. Heaven waits because the old door has to close all the way before the new one can be unlocked. And doors that close halfway are the reason people spend decades between rooms. That was not subtraction, Anointed One. That was clearance. And I want you to notice something about the order of it, because the order is the part that reveals intention. Things did not leave your life at random. They left in sequence. The habit went before the friendship. The room went before the door. If you sit down and actually date the losses of the last 2 years, most people find a sequence that looks less like a collapse and more like a demolition plan. And demolition is only ever done by someone who intends to build. I have lived the clearance side of this, chosen one, and I did not enjoy 1 hour of it. There was a 2-year stretch where I lost a working partnership, a room I had been welcome in for a decade, and a routine that had been holding my life together since my 20s. I remember standing in a kitchen at 2 in the morning, genuinely asking what I had done. Nothing arrived to explain it. The explanation came 11 months later, and it came sideways, in the form of an opportunity that would have been physically impossible to hold if any one of those 3 things had still been in my hands. I did not need more strength. I needed more room, and I had been begging for the first while. Heaven was quietly arranging the second. I want to be very careful here, because this is where people take a true thing and turn it into a cruel one. I am not telling you that every loss you have suffered was arranged. I am not telling you that the people who hurt you were sent. Some things simply broke, and some people simply chose, and heaven does not author harm in order to teach you something. What I am telling you is that nothing in your last 2 years is wasted material. A thing can be caused by the ordinary breakage of a fallen world and still be used immediately and completely by someone who wastes nothing. That distinction matters, chosen one, because one version makes God the author of your pain, and the other makes God the one who refuses to let your pain be pointless. And maybe you are thinking that your situation is different, that what happened to you was worse or stranger or more permanent than the tidy examples people give from a stage. I believe you, chosen one. Your story is genuinely unique, and I am not going to flatten it into a lesson. But the pattern underneath it is not unique, and that is the good news hiding inside your objection. The mechanism does not care how unusual your details are. Clearance works the same way in a marriage as it does in a career, the same way at 60 as it does at 30. Your circumstances are one of a kind. The physics of receiving are not. Look at Lazarus, 4 days in the tomb, and the sisters both say the same sentence, that if you had been here, this would not have happened. Notice that nobody in that story argues with the delay. The delay is simply absorbed into something larger. What arrived after 4 days was not a rescue. It was a different category of event entirely, and the 4 days are the only reason anyone could tell the difference. Look at Abraham and Sarah, waiting so long that the promise became a joke in their own tent. Sarah laughed. That laugh is in the text on purpose, because the writer wanted you to know that the woman who eventually received the promise was, at one point, the woman who found it absurd. Your cynicism does not disqualify you, chosen one. It only means you have been waiting like a real person and not like a poster. Take one breath here, anointed one. Do not analyze this next part. Just let your shoulders come down half an inch and let the air go all the way to the bottom of your ribs. Some things only land in a body that has stopped bracing. So, here is what changes in you tonight, if you let it. Every removal in the inventory I just walked you through gets a new reading, not a happy reading, an accurate one. You were not being emptied out. You were being made room in. And your instruction is this, and it is harder than the last one. Stop trying to reopen the closed door. Take one thing from that inventory, one person or one habit or one room, and release it out loud tonight, not with bitterness, not with a speech. Just say that you are done pulling on it, because a hand that is still gripping a closed door is not available to receive anything, and heaven does not pry. Type, "I release the timeline." Say it, chosen one, and mean about 70% of it, which is all anybody ever manages on the first night. The other 30% tends to follow the words rather than lead them. Now, I want to close a loop I opened near the beginning, because I told you there was something discovered in a research setting that I would come back to, and I waited until this exact moment on purpose. What they found is not information. It is a solution, and a solution only becomes useful to a person once they can see the whole shape of the problem it solves. You can see the shape now. You have been living in it. And before I bring it forward, there is one more thing about the last 2 years that I have been deliberately holding back from you. It is small. It is 1 sentence long. And in 19 years of doing this, I have watched that single sentence do more for people than any other thing I carry. Because it is the difference between a comfort and a key. Here is the door it opens. If heaven is willing to hold a finished word for 2 hours on purpose, then a question follows that almost nobody dares to ask out loud. What else has been held on purpose? 2 years of it? A whole decade of it? And if the answer to that is yes, then what exactly have you been apologizing for every time you called yourself behind? Stay with me, chosen one, because what comes next reorganizes your entire memory of the silence, and it is not what you are bracing for. Here is the turn, chosen one. Watch what this season has done to the way you talk about yourself. Notice what you do when someone asks you what you are working on. You shorten the answer. You give them the version that will not require a follow-up question, because the follow-up question is where the ache lives. Notice what happens, chosen one, at a family table when the conversation goes around and lands on you. There is a half second where you do arithmetic. You calculate how much of your life you can present without it sounding like an explanation. Chosen one, that arithmetic is exhausting, and you have been running it for 2 years. And notice what happens at 2 in the morning, when there is nobody to perform for at all. That is when the word behind arrives, not late, behind, as though there were a line and you fell out of it while everyone else kept moving. Everyone around you calls that anxiety. They tell you to compare less, and you try, and it does nothing, because the problem was never comparison. The problem is that you have been reading a preservation record as a failure record, anointed one. Those are 2 different documents, and they look almost identical from the outside. One of them lists everything you did not get. The other lists everything that was kept intact for you. Same events, same dates, opposite meanings. So, let us do the thing almost nobody has the nerve to do. If heaven is capable of holding a finished word for 2 hours on purpose, then 2 hours is a demonstration, not an exception. 2 hours is the small version of something you have been living inside at full scale, which means the last 2 years were not empty, chosen one, they were occupied. Every stretch of quiet you have apologized for was a stretch of time under preservation, and the only variable ever in play was the condition of the receiver at the moment of arrival. Think about Elijah after the mountain, sitting in a cave, done, asking to die. The wind tears the rocks apart, and the message is not in the wind. The earthquake comes, and the message is not in the earthquake. The fire comes, and it is not in the fire. Then there is a sound so low the text calls it a whisper, and that is where the message had been waiting the whole time. Read that as engineering, and it stops being poetry. Chosen one. The message did not become available when heaven got louder. It became available when the receiver got quiet. Everything before the whisper was not God trying and failing to reach him. It was the noise being cleared out of a man who had been running on adrenaline for weeks. That is the holding room at the scale of a life. That is what the safe handoff looks like when it takes a season instead of an afternoon. Heaven waits because a receiver in survival mode reads every gift as a test. Heaven waits because a mind running on fumes cannot hold a large thing without dropping it. Heaven waits because there is no point delivering a whisper into a cave that is still full of wind. Heaven waits because the word was never the hard part. So take the whole silent stretch of waiting behind you, chosen one, and put a new label on it, right now, before anything in your circumstances changes. It was not neglect, it was custody. It was not absence, it was preparation of the room. You were never the one waiting, anointed one. Heaven was, and the pause you have been calling silence was the time it took to make the answer safe to hand you. And here is your instruction for this layer, and it is the one that will actually change your prayers this week. Stop asking when the waiting ends. When is a question about heaven, and heaven has already answered it? Start asking what state, because that is the only question that was ever addressed to you. Not what state as in be more holy. I mean the practical, unglamorous condition of the person doing the receiving. There is a spiritual layer to being a receiver, and we have spent this whole time on it, and it is real. But there is a second layer underneath it that almost nobody in a spiritual community is ever told about, and it is why so many sincere people feel static on the line, even when the heart is right. Before we finish tonight, I am going to say something out loud over you, and I want you here when I do it. There is also one more turn in all of this, the largest one, and it is the piece that explains why you specifically have been treated this way. It is waiting a few minutes ahead of us. Type "It is already mine." Now let me put down every image and every metaphor and tell you in plain language what you actually know now that you did not know when this began, because you should be able to carry this out of here in your own words. Here is what you know. Your answer was never the thing being delayed. Answers get finished quickly. Handoffs are what take time, because a handoff depends on two things and only one of them is heaven. The delay you have been grieving was a preservation window, and its length was set by the condition of the person receiving, not by the mood of the person giving. Here is what you have been given to do with it. Two tools, simple enough to use tonight. The open hand test tells you where you stand. Picture the answer as already given. Notice the first reflex, and if it reaches for a person to convince rather than a thing to build, you know exactly what is being adjusted. The release of the closed door tells you what to stop pulling on. Name one thing that left, say out loud that you are done gripping it, and stop rehearsing the argument. And here is who this makes you, chosen one, not someone behind, someone in custody of a finished word. That is a different identity, and it produces a different posture. People who believe they are behind hustle to catch up and arrive, exhausted. People who know they are being handed something, prepare the room, and arrive with open hands. You have been carrying the identity of a person who missed the line. What I am telling you is that you were standing in a delivery bay the entire time. That is the shift, not from empty to full, from forgotten to held. Now, I have to bring forward the thing I set down at the beginning, because it belongs to the receiver layer, and I promised you I would come back to it. In 1981, something was proven in a laboratory that most people sitting in spiritual communities have never been told about. Not because it contradicts anything sacred, but because it arrived from a direction we are not watching. A researcher named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize that year for split brain research, work that demonstrated something startling about how the human mind is arranged. The two hemispheres were designed to work in synchronization, not in competition, in sync. And when that synchronization is intact, what shows up is not just better thinking, it is clearer perception, faster pattern recognition, and a kind of quiet inner reception that people in every spiritual tradition have described in their own vocabulary for thousands of years. The findings that followed are harder to sit with, chosen one. Studies of young children found roughly 98% of them operating at what researchers described as creative genius level. Among adults, fewer than 1 in 1,000 hold on to it. It is not moral failure, chosen one, and it is not spiritual decline. Modern life simply erodes the synchronization, slowly, with noise and fragmented attention and constant low-grade stress. That is physiology, not a verdict on your devotion. A woman in California described what her life felt like before she came across any of this. She had done everything her community offered: prayer, journaling, fasting, silence, every practice she could find, and she kept arriving at the same place. She believed every word she said, and she could not feel a single one of them in her body. 10 days in, something opened. She described it as a line that had been blocked coming clear, not because she tried harder, because the receiver had been repaired. A man in Texas described something running alongside that. He had spent years holding things together for everyone around him, while his own interior went thin. He said prayer had started to feel like talking into a wall. 2 weeks later, he woke and said his mind was running on all of what it was meant to run on. The fog had been so constant he had stopped registering it as fog, and it was gone. That is because of what the team I am about to describe found. A group of neuroscientists led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York spent years on the following problem. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, refined across years of waiting on the data. The kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized settings, and through an intensive compression process, they turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones, eyes closed. Chosen one, that is the entire physical requirement. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a meditation app, and it is not a mood track. It is a targeted auditory sequence engineered on the back of Sperry research to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the synchronized state that was your default as a child. If you have tried sound-based products before and found them underwhelming, Dr. Barone addresses that directly. Most of them target a fraction of the picture. What his team built works at the whole mind level through a multi-layer protocol, and a different mechanism produces a different category of result. The Genius Switch is not for everyone, anointed one. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared the promise and also prepared the mind that has to walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has done the work, who has kept returning to the call even when the evidence refused to cooperate. If that is not you, this is not yours, and you can let it pass without a second thought. Colleagues who reviewed the protocol told the team it was worth $500. That is not unreasonable. Clinical neurofeedback runs around $300 an hour, and home devices that attempt something similar start near $7,000. It was not released at $500, not at $200, not at $100. The Genius Switch was released at $49, and through this message, it is $10 lower than that, $39. Roughly, what a family spends on one unremarkable dinner out. 4 additional pieces come with it at no cost, built to support the same restoration, and it carries an unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen to it once or listen to it 80 times. If it does nothing for you, every dollar comes back. No explanation required. The entire risk sits with them, which is the only arrangement that makes sense when someone actually believes what they built. I am not going to tell you the link vanishes at midnight, chosen one, because that would be a lie, and you have been lied to enough. What I will say is this: another season can pass with the receiver running at half strength, and the cost of that is not a bill in the mail, it is quieter. It is the words you may not feel, the prompting you may not catch, and a handoff that may have to keep waiting. One warning, chosen one, and then I will leave it alone. There are imitations circulating, copies that took the name and none of the protocol. The original comes only through the description below and the pinned comment above, and if it is not coming from there, it is not the thing being described. That is the tool. It is not the source. It is not a substitute for anything sacred, and nobody is claiming it hands you a word. It clears the room the word has to be handed into. That is all it does, and that is a great deal. Now let me show you 2 futures, chosen one, and I want you to pick which one you are walking toward. In the first one, the thing you have been waiting on arrives, and you notice something strange about your own reaction. You do not reach for your phone. There is no announcement. You sit with it for a full day, waiting on purpose, before anybody knows. And because you are not spending it on being seen, it stays available for being used. The work in front of you can begin to get simpler because you stop making decisions designed to impress people who were never going to watch. What you carry may begin to hold more weight without you having to defend it. That is what the end of waiting looks like when the hands are open. And what was described earlier is simply the second half of that same preparation, the part that works on the receiver rather than the word. 8 minutes, headphones, nothing to believe in for it to do its work. And here is the part you probably did not expect. The thing that has been holding your word is not the enemy. It is not your past. It is not the people who walked away. And it is not even your timing. The patience you have been studying all night does not describe heaven. It describes you. Sit inside that for a second, chosen one. Nobody holds a word for a person who is not coming back. You do not preserve something for someone who has stopped listening. Every hour of that hold was a statement about how certain heaven was that you would return to the room and ask again. You did return, every single time. You returned after the year it did not happen. You returned after the funeral. You returned after the conversation that ended a friendship. You return tonight, at whatever hour this is where you are, into one more message about waiting, because something in you refuses to stop showing up for a God who has been quiet. The length of the hold was never a measure of your distance, chosen one. It was a measure of your reliability. You were never the one waiting. Heaven was, and the pause you kept calling silence was the time it took to make the answer safe to hand you. But here is the mechanism underneath it, and this is the thing you have never seen. Somewhere behind you, you signed an agreement, not on paper, in a season when it kept you functional. The agreement said that if you expect nothing, you cannot be disappointed, and if you assume you are overlooked, then being overlooked never has to hurt again. That agreement worked, chosen one. That is why it is still running. It has protected you through things that would have taken other people apart, and it has also made you read every single hold as a rejection automatically before your mind had a chance to weigh the evidence. You did not fail, chosen one. You signed something in a season when signing it kept you alive, and the moment you can see the agreement clearly, you are no longer bound by it. That is the whole mechanism. Seeing it is the undoing of it. And notice what the waiting actually built in you, because this is the part nobody thanks a season for. You learn to keep going without applause. You learn to hold a promise in your mouth for years, without turning it into a performance. You learn the difference between people who show up and people who narrate. None of that can be taught in a good season, chosen one. It is only ever built by waiting. So let every ignored night behind you be reread one final time. Not as evidence that you did not matter, as evidence that you were the one they were certain enough about to make wait. Type, I claim the handoff. And now imagine the second future. You go to pray tomorrow, and the voice that comes out of you is not the voice of someone apologizing for existing. It is the voice of an heir, not arrogant, settled. The tone of someone who has finished waiting to be believed. You stop opening with a defense of why you are asking again, because you are no longer asking whether it is yours. You are asking where to put it. That change alone can begin to alter how you read every quiet morning for the rest of your life. Before I say the last thing over you, chosen one, I need you to decide something, and only you can do it. What I am about to declare is not decoration. If you receive it as a nice ending, it will be a nice ending. If you receive it as the truth about your identity, it becomes the language you argue with your own fear in at 4 a.m. Choose now, anointed one. Put both feet on the floor, chosen one. Let your hands rest open on your knees, palms up, which is the oldest posture of a receiver there is. Breathe in slowly, chosen one. And as you do, picture the room you have been knocking on for 2 years. See the light under the door. Now breathe out and let the knocking stop. Not the faith, just the knocking. You are not leaving. You are simply waiting differently. Still enough now to be handed something. And with your hands still open, chosen one, let one name go. The person you were going to prove it to. Let them out of this. Whatever comes to you next was never meant to be their evidence. Stay there for one moment more, and let gratitude come up for something that has not arrived yet. Not performed gratitude, the quiet kind. Thank you for holding it. Thank you for not handing it to me on the day I would have wasted it. And tonight, before you sleep, chosen one, do this one thing. Place your hand flat on your heart and say out loud that you are done waiting like an orphan and ready to wait like an heir. Say it in whatever words are yours. Your body remembers what your hand does far longer than it remembers what your mind decides. Now hear who you are, chosen one. I am not behind. I am in custody of something finished. I am not forgotten. I am the one they were certain enough about to make wait. I am a receiver with open hands, and open hands can be filled. I am not the one who was waiting. Heaven was, and the pause I called silence was the time it took to make the answer safe to hand me. I am ready to be handed what I once would have spent. I am the kind of person a word is worth holding for. Type, I am the heir. And understand why the declaration matters, because this is not a magic sentence. What you say out loud becomes the fastest route your mind has to a belief. You have been rehearsing an old agreement for years without noticing. Tonight you rehearsed a different one, and repetition is the only currency identity has ever accepted. So let me bless you before you go, chosen one. I bless your hands, that they would stay open when everything in you wants to close them. I bless your discernment, that you would know a clearance from a punishment. I bless your patience, that the waiting would stop feeling like a sentence and start feeling like a room. I bless your voice, that it would ask like an heir and not like a stranger. I bless your memory, that it would give the last 2 years back to you without shame. I bless your reliability, that same stubborn faithfulness that kept bringing you back to the door, because that is the reason anything was ever held for you at all. One more thing, and then I will let the room go quiet. If tonight did anything in you, leave a like on it. Not for me, but so it lands in front of another chosen one who is awake right now, with the same question and no answer in the ceiling. Now go and prepare the room. Go with your hands open. Go, anointed one, and stop knocking. The light under that door has been on the entire time, and you were never standing outside it alone.